Brock Purdy. I was watching. I was going to bring this up later, but I'll bring it up right here. I was watching the Super Bowl marathon. Okay, so the other day, Saturday, it's raining out here. They have the Super Bowl marathon. They've got all these different games, and so I start watching it. Right, Super Bowl 1, Super Bowl 2, Super Bowl 3, all down the line. Okay,
That's
Super Bowl. So I just wanted to see the first. I want to see the first 10 or 12 because they're before I was even around. So I'm watching Super Bowl 1. Green Bay beats Kansas City. One of the most violent, hard-hitting games you're ever going to see, by the way. Plenty of seats available, by the way, at the LA Coliseum. Tons of empty seats. Nobody was there. Nobody thought anything of this game at the time. Max McGee had a career day. But Brock Purdy is, if you wanted to say, man, I need somebody who I can compare to Brock Purdy, it's Bart Starr. Brock Purdy is Bart Starr. Bart Starr played great football, and he did it with all these intermediate strikes right in the middle of the field. In what was Bart Starr? 17th round pick by the Green Bay Packers in the 56th draft, played 16 seasons, only quarterback in the history of the NFL to lead his team to 3 straight championships unless Mahomes can do it this weekend. But he was 6 feet and 195 pounds.
Okay.
And he wasn't the biggest guy, didn't have the biggest arm, but what he did have was a kick-ass, dominating, Hall of Fame-driven offensive line and a killer run game.
Yep.
So if you're going to have the next Bart Starr, which is what Brock Purdy looks like, give Brock Purdy what Bart Starr had, and maybe he'll win some games, which is, run the ball, and have a big, physical, pounding offensive line and, lean on people and run the hell out of it and then play action pass out of it. Bart Starr won titles, and Brock Purdy looks an awful lot like Bart Starr when you watch it. But Bart Starr had a killer offensive line and a killer run game. He wasn't running for his life. Big
another
difference.
Comparison I haven't seen Bart Starr play ever. I have a comparison.
I didn't either.
Brock Purdy.
I never saw. He was in the 60s. It was like 65 or something.
Okay, I have a more like modern day comparison. I've been thinking about this one. I'm glad you brought this up because this is something I've been keeping to myself. This is who Brock Purdy reminds me of. Tony Romo. Tony Romo. In the sense that Tony wasn't drafted and Tony had some really, really productive years, but he also had his version of the Avengers. He had Jason Witten forever. He had Terrell Owens at first, and then he had Des Bryant. He had DeMarco Murray when he was like the leading rusher in the NFL. When Tony Romo had players around him, Tony Romo put up great numbers, but he didn't win a Super Bowl. But that's what I think of Tony Romo. Scrambler.
That's interesting. I think Brock's a little tougher than Tony Romo, but Romo's a little bigger body. That's for sure. He was a little bit bigger player. That's interesting. I hadn't thought of Tony Romo. I always think of, every time I think of Tony Romo, I think of the dropped extra,
in Seattle.
The Seattle extra point. Yeah.
Yeah, there was something missing with Tony.
And I don't
he didn't exactly rise to the occasion.
I also don't like Tony anymore as a broadcaster.
Oh, he's like, oh my God. It's like, what are you trying to say, buddy?
Well, I mean, I really did it for me at the end was in the last year's in the Super Bowl, and the Niners, win the coin or lose the coin toss, and they're getting the ball to start the game. And he's just like, you know what? Reed made a genius move. This Purdy's not going to be able to even breathe here. He's just going to, he's like predicting his demise in the first series, and he came out 6 for 6. They moved the ball right down the field, and it was like, well, I guess I was wrong. And also, he does a lot of guessing. He guesses. This play, I think it's going to be this. Okay, how about this? Let's wait for the play to happen, and then let's break down the play that happens instead of predicting what's going to happen on the next play.
My favorite thing, forget Romo. I'm sorry I brought him up. My favorite thing about Purdy that separates him from Romo, and I think still gives him potential to be even better, is his legs. He's a damn good runner. Like, he's not Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson, but he's one of the better scramblers in the league. And I think Steve Young said this like last week. He could be running these RPOs and these zone reads. If Jaden Daniels can do it, Brock can do what Steve said is 80% of that. I completely agree. And I think to be truly elite as a quarterback in 2025, you got to be very mobile. And he is. And that's one of the things I really like. Is he the best passer in the league? No, he has obvious limitations. But so does Jalen Hurts. So do most quarterbacks. He's super mobile, and they got to accentuate that part of his game even more than they have. Like he ran 60 something times this year. That should be 120. And they got to find a way to do it responsibly. Like,
well, not only that, Grant,
do.
go back and look in these playoffs at the key sequences for Mahomes. It's uncanny how often they move the pocket in the big moments for Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
Move the pocket for Brock. Let Brock run to his right and throw the diagonal pass to his tight end, like the way that Mahomes does it. In a lot of ways, Purdy's similar to Mahomes from the running standpoint. Mahomes doesn't want to run. Mahomes wants to pass. I don't think Purdy wants to run. I think
it's
Purdy
not his
wants
first
to
option,
pass.
but he can do it and kill you that way.
But they're both really quick runners, and they're both. I take bad angles.
If that's taking what the defense is giving you, they'll take it and kill you.
They both
as opposed to Jared Goff who can't.
Right. They're both also, if you give Mahomes or Purdy a lane with the money on the table, they are absolutely going to run. They are absolutely going to run. Kind of like Stafford. Stafford's not a runner, but man, if you give him a lane with money on the table, he will run. And Mahomes is the best at it. Mahomes Mahomes won't run all day, and then he'll break your back in the fourth quarter with a key run. And Russell Wilson was kind of like that, though Russell was looking to run more.